It was so intense. It was so intense.
Damn.
And then as we walked off, I was like, "Oh, Janey, you're still doing TV." So I just kind of waved and smiled because I was like,
Have you been to America before?
Yeah. It's my third time, but now I get to see a lot more cities and stuff.
Hey everyone, it's Mera Mangle.
And Janey Jacké.
And welcome to another Mangled morning. Woo! Janey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. You've been in America for how long now?
For almost a month.
Yeah.
Almost a month. Tour live.
I saw you at DragCon. What was that, like 2 weeks ago almost now?
I don't even know what day today is.
Right. It's been...
What time zone am I in?
By the time this airs, it'll be 2 weeks.
Right.
But, so I have not gotten in drag since DragCon.
Oh, fab.
And, like, I was looking at your schedule for this tour you're on now. And you've been in drag every damn day.
It is literally Gaga going, no sleep, club, plane, another club.
place.
Yeah, very that, yeah.
And I'm still not ready to get back into it.
Oh.
How old are you?
I'm ready to take a break. I'm 30.
30. I'm
Yeah.
33. You know, anytime you're like in that habit, you'll get in the habit and you're good. But like when you get out of the habit of doing it regularly,
the moment you break
it's painful.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I gotta shave. Oh, I gotta shave my body. Oh, I gotta. No. The moment you break the habit, you're done. But once you sort of do drag every single day, like when I did Mykonos, it's 5 months, 4.5 months every single day, like no stops, no breaks, and then it's sort of okay.
Right. I remember like for a while, prior to me doing the YouTube channel, prior to the pandemic, I would do drag like 6-7 nights a week and had a full-time day job at the time.
No,
and I have no idea how I did it, but like the alcohol and all of it, like it's that pattern you build.
And then you hit your 30s, and you're like, no, ma'am.
Right. Then reality hit, and now I sit in my house and do this.
So good.
And travel to see queens like you.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here with me today. So let's get into it. Today we're going to be talking all about Janey Jacké, the scandals. I don't think you really have any scandals.
Well, some of them. Let's talk Snatch game.
We'll get into all of that. Did you see she gave me a shout out the other day?
She did.
Yeah, in her video with Crystal.
Oh, that's good. That's cute. I mean,
I was like, well, I guess I'll follow.
Oh, yeah. Well, she doesn't follow me back, so you don't have to.
We'll cut all that out. We'll talk all about Janey Jacké's career here on the drag races and prior. We want to learn all about you and get in a little deep. You like it deep. I've heard that.
I'm into that, you know.
But before we get started, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like the video, and join the Patreon where you can see all kinds of additional content you can't see on YouTube. Plus, you're helping support the channel. Now you can also support the channel by tipping on Venmo like these fine folks did. Big shout out to Michael P, Michaela B, who said she tipped me for the our reaction to Jinx's Is This My Camera moment. Those were great episodes. Also, Zachary H tipped us for our reactions. Edwina M, Christian C, Christopher V, Michael N, and Marissa V all basically said something along the lines like, "Thank you for making my day brighter." Isn't that lovely?
That's really nice.
And some were like, where's Mangle Morning at? Because I did like one Mangle Morning since DragCon 2.
She's like waiting. Also,
big shout out to Marissa V and to Brendan M, who said happy 2-year anniversary. On Monday is the 2-year anniversary of this channel.
Congratulations. Well, while we're filming, it's like probably already happened.
Well, no one better to have here than Janey Jacké.
Thank you.
I was like trying to put the words together. I'm like,
well, segue.
You know what is a good segue to that is when I first started the channel, it was around the time that you were on Holland that summer.
Oh, is that when you started?
Yeah, that's
fab.
like during the pandemic. Yeah.
Because for me, you've always been part of when I started.
I've always been a part of your experience.
Yeah.
No, I was brand new then.
Oh, that's fabulous. You've been doing great, honey.
You have been doing great too, though.
Can't complain.
What has been... First, let me hear, where was Janey Jacké prior to Drag Race?
So I've been doing drag altogether, I would say like 12 years. Around 12 years.
Wow.
But like professionally and going on for that, you know, like when you do your company, you get really into it. It's been about 9. So before Drag Race, I was an established queen in Holland/Amsterdam because it's mostly evolved around Amsterdam for me. I did my residencies. I had like 4 or 5 residencies that I would always do. I started doing some television stuff. I started doing like competitions. I got a couple of titles. And you know, I started hosting like big events like Gay Pride, 10,000 people and all of that. So that was Janey prior to Drag Race. And the year before I got on Drag Race, I started going international. So I did Mykonos for 4.5 months. I started doing a little bit more on Canary Islands, Israel, Belgium, obviously, because it's super close anyway, Miami. So I was kind of going that way that I always wanted to go. And there's always been sort of an uplift in the career. And then Drag Race happened and it just exploded.
Nice. In terms of the Netherlands, like, drag queens, were you familiar or worked with a lot of the queens there that you were on the season with prior?
I never met Room, but I knew her from social media.
She didn't perform.
She didn't really perform. She was like really that social media queen, and she did that comedy thing on Twitter. The RuPaul Drag Race.
On YouTube.
Yeah. That was her song. I knew her from that, and I never really met Mama Queen. I've seen Mama Queen on stage, but we never really met. Other than that, I knew everybody. And for example, Synergy and me did Mykonos together. Envy and I, were in the same city working together. Right. Abby. We've been very familiar, so we knew. But it's also because it's a tiny.
I was gonna say because everyone's in Amsterdam, right? It's, like the majority,
most of them. Or either if they live outside of the city, they work in the city,
right?
Because it's close.
Because you're not you live there now, right?
Yes,
but you're from
Volendam,
from one of the smaller areas.
Yes, it's very close to Amsterdam. It's 30 minutes, but it's a very
everything in Europe is.
I know it's like 3 hours driving north to south, 2.5. But it's a very small village. It's very Catholic, but it's very close by. But they're very different. It's a very close community. They have a different dialect nobody understands in the country. But they're very known for talented singers and bands.
Hearing that there's going to be a Drag Race Holland and then you get that call to be on season 1, what was that experience like?
I mean, we knew they tried making it happen for a while. Okay. So we sort of auditioned about 2 years prior to actually getting on the season. Oh my God. And it never really happened, but it's also because it's a very expensive show to make. It's not easy. You need a lot of trust from television land to produce a show like this. But they had the rights, and you have the rights for, I think, about 3 years. So the last year, I think some production companies started to panic. They're like, and obviously Drag Race started winning all these Emmys. So internationally, it's really growing and it becoming a phenomenon. So we sort of got the call like, hey, you auditioned, or do you want to audition again, or are you still interested? And obviously, that wasn't even a question.
And you didn't have nothing to do because it was 2020.
It was 2020. Well, this was before the pandemic happened.
Oh, you filmed right before?
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, we didn't film before. We did the audition period before the pandemic. So I planned Mykonos, but I was like, I can plan around it or whatever. Pandemic wasn't happening. We started auditioning, and then while we were sort of being casted, the whole pandemic started happening.
Filmed, it was.
We waited for months before we could film,
right?
Because of the pandemic.
Because it aired pretty quickly after.
We filmed August, the entire month, which is the hottest month in the Netherlands, by the way. 2 days, no AC, the first couple of runways. Oof. In that latex look, that was fabulous.
I bet you're happy to be in that dunk.
It was horrible. We can swear on YouTube.
But you won that challenge.
But I did win that challenge. Sweat, blood, and tears. There we go. And so we filmed August, and they started airing 3 weeks after.
Wow. Yeah, I was going to say, it's one of the fastest turnaround times.
Yeah.
Besides, like, Thailand, which, like, aired kind of live-ish.
Yeah. So you have 3 weeks to do your photo shoots, get your merch ready, do your whole... So you're still tired. So then, and then it was 10 episodes, or like 8 episodes, 9 episodes.
But like we said, you win that first challenge.
Yeah, I did. That was
good.
And
then you have the distinction, which we'll get to UK versus the world, of course, but you have that distinction of being the only queen still, right, to win the Rusical twice.
Yeah.
That's pretty fierce.
Yeah.
Y'all went in on Maxima. Like, because I had never heard of her, and so when we were watching it, we were like, if she is the queen, they are reading her the house down.
I know.
But it was hilarious.
I know, and it's kind of, our royal family is kind of special, you know? I mean, she's originally Argentinian as well, so she became Dutch, and she married into the royal family.
Seems like a Holland seems to be like a melting pot as well.
Yeah, totally. And it's fun how you can make fun of them in a good way. And there's this other skit show that also makes fun of the royal family, and they sort of laugh about it and they accept it. And the princesses are very forward and very, woke and pretty cool. And even one of the princesses refused her allowance because she was like, I'm going to study, I don't need an allowance. And that allowance is a good allowance. We're talking millions. Wow. So it's like, it was pretty intense, but pretty cool. And I mean, I hope she saw it.
Was that the most like difficult challenge? Because was the choreography and all of that too?
While we were listening to the songs, I was like, I like this part, but I never really realized it wanted me to do an actual tango. It's not so much the challenge of choreography, it's a challenge of making choreography look effortless while acting. It's not performing a song, it's acting while performing a song. And that was the hard part. Like you have to really find that level.
And I'll say this too, a lot of times, challenges can be disputed in terms of who wins them or what, like the fans can be divided. Bitch, both the Rusicals you won. Like for me, hardcore.
It's like I'm being remembered for 2 challenges where I wear barely any makeup. loves it. Great, Jen. We love you.
That's very true. That's very true.
So true. But even the Meryl, it was very challenging.
I want to talk. Let's just talk about that now because that was one of the best performances on Drag Race ever.
Thank you.
The nuances that you did as Meryl Streep were like just brilliant.
Well, I remember we started doing, with Johannes, he was starting to do the choreography, and me like dancing and like that whole diva moment, and he was just like, "Oh, baby, you're doing too much. It's too much. She's not really a dancer. She's awkward acting." And I was okay. So I had to tone it down, and then. You do that on camera, and then off camera he said to me, he's like, "Baby, I want you to go to the hotel tonight, grab your phone, watch a couple of her videos." And I was just like, "Don't have a phone." And he's like, "Well, then you're good luck." And I was like, "Oh my fuck, no, this can't be happening." And I literally went to my hotel room and I put my headphones in, and I was like, I need to channel this, the nuances and the little things. And obviously we all love her as an actress, so we watched her, and I just let go, and it worked.
But not everyone can do that, yeah. I mean, it really did work.
Yeah, it really did work. And shout out to Jujubee, she lent me that wig, which was like a fabulous
just
little
all
moment.
those little, like the whole...
The little, and the hands in the pockets.
It was so good. So I jumped ahead a little, but let's go back to Holland. Speaking of dance challenges, one that we talk about a lot...
Well, here's the controversy.
Is the Vogue challenge, where the guest judge literally says, well, what we've learned today is that we can't teach people to Vogue in one day.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we watched y'all rehearse, and then we're sitting there watching the final product, and you guys just walk around.
Yeah. Well,
that was hilarious.
I mean, obviously, voguing is such a...
No, it's so true. You can't learn that.
You can't learn how to vogue. It's really... And it's also such a cultural thing that when they announced that this was our dance challenge, we were like, this is too much of a heavy subject to just... throw in as a challenge,
right.
But that's Dutch television for you, like a little bit, unknown sometimes. And the girl Amber, she is a phenomenon in the Netherlands with her house and everything that she does with the balls and everything, and she's amazing. And we worked really hard off camera, all of these things you don't see, entire night to get it to a level that we were all sort of happy with, or at least show off. Mm-hmm. And then when we came in the morning, the production wasn't happy with everything that we sort of produced. So they threw in the choreography they had for like other things in the show. So she got completely overruled. This is full tea. So the whole team was kind of like, whoa, what's happening now is not cool because she's a woman and this is what's happening in the industry and we don't accept, but you're also under a contract. So
she's the professional.
Right, so you can't really go there. So the energy was blocked is kind of how we say it, and then we just had to push it through, and they were like, we're on a schedule, we're paying people to be here until a certain time, so that melting pot is just, it was just wrong. It was just wrong. And they try to solve it by zooming in and this whole weird moment, and you could tell,
like something didn't go right there.
Right. And that's unfortunately production and out of our control.
But you did do well in so many of the challenges. The only time you were in the bottom on your initial season on Holland was the Makeover, right?
Yes.
Which was very controversial to me as well. Now, let me know your opinion on this, because I always feel like with both seasons of Holland, even though I feel like I do agree with the right person winning the challenge, every other decision is so skewed heavy based on the story versus the actual makeover itself.
You're looking at a show that's produced for story sometimes rather than...
And Drag Race is always like that.
It's always produced, but
some of them are like...
Some people are really good at going off on what's happening and producing that into a story, what story producers do. And other ones are like, oh, we have to steer it into a certain direction because we have to fit the bill. And that's kind of what we felt with Drag Race Holland. It's hard, and I mean, it's a read and it's not a read, but it's hard to take these criticism or feedbacks from people that have no clue what they're talking about. Especially that the 50-50 challenge. However they called it in our briefing and however they presented it, the half man, half woman, which was kind of like half personalities, and the things just were a little bit off. And it's the same with my makeover. My makeover was on point because we looked the same.
Oh, y'all were
It was
beautiful.
Just a different type of glamour that
Chelsea was gorgeous too.
Right, and there was a different type of glamour that they didn't agree with or didn't feel at that moment.
They fully judged the rest of y'all just based on story. So it was
based on performance. Because, how did you perform it on the runway? You had to sort of play this story, which was what Envy did, or what Mama did. But
But Mama,
me just being glamorous was kind of like, oh yeah, you were just pretty, point. I'm like, well, that's the runways, girl.
Like
we
Mama,
don't all have to.
Mama and her dad had a beautiful story, but they look busted.
Oh yeah, they look busted, but it's hard to make, you know, a 50-something-year-old man look great unless you're RuPaul.
So obviously you didn't think you should have been on the bottom, because I didn't think you should have been on the bottom.
No, I didn't think I should have been in the bottom. Not for the basic challenge that the makeover challenge was. Like, no.
Right.
Then Mama Queen looked a lot more busted. So
It
then,
should have been
okay,
Abby
yeah,
and Mama on the bottom.
she would have been saved because of the story. But I'm like, no. And then Abby, I was like, yeah, girl, it's great, but
Those were Halloween.
that is a f***ing Halloween costume
No,
that you put
literally,
rhinestones on. Yes, ma'am.
Halloween.com.
Yeah, it's literally, it came in a little plastic bag with one of those plastic hangers. So, yeah. Yeah, you know. You deal with it in a moment. I don't agree. But yeah, the comments I got, he was like, oh, your silhouette is off. I was like, I just tried a different silhouette, but I look stunning. It's just weird.
No, yeah,
it's
you
just
guys
weird.
looked incredible. Well, so we're wrapping up on Holland. Now, obviously, you went up against one of the greatest competitors in Drag Race history.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree, like, if you're going to lose to anybody, lose to Envy Peru.
100%. But I keep saying I made it hard for her to win. It was
Right,
it
there you
wasn't a
go.
home run.
I
you
mean,
know.
you were the only one to get another challenge win up in there. Like,
Yeah.
you got 2 in there.
Yeah.
And
but
with
she got 4.
She got 4 in 7 episodes. That's insane.
Yeah.
Insanity. No, I love her. When I saw her at DragCon, like I literally, we were like standing by your booth, but you had a line. We came back like no, it was still later that first day. You had a line. We bumped into Cedrigine, and then right then I said, oh God, I wish Envy Peru. Like I want to see her, but I want us to both be in drag. And then I'm not even kidding you. Like Scarlett was with me, and I said that to her. Moments later, she walked up to me out of drag.
Oh, yeah.
And I
yeah.
was like, it was like an angel walked up to me. Yeah. Anyway.
I know, she's just, and that's the whole thing with Envy, she's just so mesmerizing and gorgeous. I remember the first time I met her, I saw her when she started doing drag, because I was already doing drag for a couple years, and the first time I actually met her, after being obsessed on Instagram, she came into one of my shows, and it was a full house, I was doing a bingo, she came in, and I grabbed her on stage, and I stopped the whole show, I didn't even care anymore, and I was just like, I'm so obsessed with you, and you need to come over here, and I need to meet her, and the whole bar was just like, what is this bitch doing? And I was just, but she's just, and we've gotten so much closer since the show, and we're
Nice.
really good friends now. So it's like it's really fabulous. Like
Yeah, do you guys have a pretty tight bond? Holland girls?
yeah.
And now that you've been on this tour with the UK girls, I'm sure that you've gotten a lot closer with all of them.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, some were new. You know, I never met Hora, I never met Tace.
Right,
Obviously, I
right.
never met Lawrence, but we're all working together, and it's really fabulous, and it's good also to see my UK versus World sisters, because obviously we live so far apart that I do get to work with Baga and with Cheryl and the girls in England, but you know, I never see Lemon, I never see Jimbo.
Right.
You know, it's only when you get booked in places, so it's good to have some more time together. Yeah, it's fabulous.
Anything with Holland season 1 that, like, your takeaways from it that we didn't get to see, or just special moments for you?
I mean, definitely, there have been a lot of really beautiful sisterhood moments that didn't make it into the show, like really, you know, conversations or bonding moments in the workroom that were very special for us because we knew each other, but being able to get to know each other so much better by being in that little pressure cooker, that was really special and really beautiful. Yeah.
You were definitely like the confessional queen for your season, and Janey was not afraid to speak her piece, speak her mind.
Story time.
Do you feel like that got you into trouble at all, or
No,
like what was your
I mean,
experience with that?
I'm not afraid of an edit. I'm not afraid of looking back at myself, or you know, I'm very comfortable with me. And obviously, they get pulled out of context from here and there, but I'm very comfortable with whatever I say, how I talk,
Right.
and my whole, you know. There have been great, you know, like memes and GIFs and all that. So,
Where does that come from for you to be able to take that in stride?
I mean, I come from such a difficult village where I always had to fight sort of to be who I am, that I just made a conscious choice that I was like, I'm not going to do this ever again. Not ever again. And I never did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you really took, going to UK versus the world as well, you took all the criticism from your peers and the judges. I mean, you always take, you know, the feedback from the judges, but from your peers, you got some of that on UK versus the world.
I always learned also, like, because I wasn't always a drag queen, obviously, growing up working in the hospitality industry, that if somebody is...
What'd you do in hospitality?
Well, I did hotel management, so I worked
I did that for 4 years.
Yeah, I did that the same. So I worked in Michelin restaurants, like higher class and
Oh.
all of that. I served, and, you know, the cheeses and 7-course menus and
Oh, that's what
wines
that
and,
smell is.
You know, baby, cheese is Dutch cheese. So what I always learned from my managers is they always told me that if they would not give me feedback or not complain about me, that means they didn't care and they gave up.
Yeah.
So for me, for other people to give me comments, give me feedback, I mean, they care, they're bothered, they're, you know, pressed or whatever you want to call it, but they're involved.
Yeah, because sometimes it's not about you.
No.
Sometimes it's
like
more about them.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
but did we touch this little thing there?
Well, you have good self-awareness as well.
Yeah.
Let's get to UK versus the world. You get a very tight turnaround time,
Yes.
right? How long was in between seasons?
6 months.
6 months.
But like studio time. So like from studio to studio, that was
Wow.
6.5 months.
That's
Yes.
insane.
Yeah. Which is both in pandemic, two pandemics, no work, no tours, no real experience after my season, which is usually when the
Right.
girls, you know, get their money back and start growing their whole audience and everything. We literally did 2 shows, we were at home. But it also helped me sort of break from that bubble of like, oh, what is next? Because we were all very doubtful in pandemic. So I switched and I just was like, well, let's do it again.
You were excited to do it?
I was very excited to do it. Yeah. I mean, there have been moments during preparations where I literally sat down and cried and I was like, I don't know what the I'm doing. There's a lot of bleeping.
Well, we're not live, so it's fine.
Right. So there was a moment where I really thought, like, what am I doing and who am I and what am I going to
Not
represent?
who am I.
And, you know, like,
existential.
I mean, I knew I was going to be put up with strong competition.
Big personalities.
And I was
defined
relatively
brands.
unknown.
Yeah.
You know, let's be real. That was just the case. So that it gave me advantage and disadvantage. Yeah.
What did it feel like walking in and seeing your competitors?
A little scary.
And the fact that they make you walk in on the main stage. That was
Oh
great.
yeah, but that was so puss. That was so good. They were like, we're not gonna do the workroom.
It
And I was
probably felt
like,
super special.
it was amazing.
Yeah.
It felt so good having that lip sync assassin screen moment. It was oh my god, it was so hot. It was a little scary, but when I came in, it was only the UK girls, and there was like season 1 to season 1, so that felt really good. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be great.
Those UK season 1 girls, I feel like in general are just comforting, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
Like you see them and you're like they're like almost like Care Bears.
And they're also because they're sort of established, you know. They're
not worried about you.
No.
They're just like here to have a good time.
Well, you know, they saw that happen.
I said too, it's so funny that whole season, the fact that all the other countries do all the damn work, win all the challenges, and then in the end, the UK and the US take it home. They get rid of all y'all.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I mean, did we all see it coming? Maybe. But it also, like, it's lipstick moments. You never know what happens.
Yeah. So that first challenge happens, and, you know, the talent show happens, and were you in the bottom 2 for that?
Yeah.
It was you and Lemon.
Yeah.
I was very happy that you stayed.
Thank
because
you.
out of the 2, what I always said was that season 1 of Canada was massive. And Lemon was one of the biggest ones, her and Jimbo, from that season. So you needed this platform to me. And I was
That's
so
true.
happy you got it because you won 2 challenges right after that.
Yeah.
Because you won those back to back after that, right?
Yep. Yeah, with 1 badge actually in the pocket, and then 2 times top, obviously. It was very humbling, that first episode. Obviously, my talent show were choices that had to be made because of pandemic and all of these things, and I'm a queen that does commercial music, and you're not allowed to use commercial music. All the studios were closed, so a lot of choices happened.
Oh, yeah,
you
and
know.
then you said something with the song where, like, you had to lower it.
One of the actual lyrics was, I'm gonna suck on camera.
Oh.
Because I love to put that sort of sexy feel of Amsterdam in it, and it was house music, and we don't know for DJs and all that. But they were kind of like, oh, it's not really BBC very that moment. So they were like, we're gonna lower
Publicly
that. We're gonna
funded
sort of
television.
lower the lyric thing on that one, so that you know it's sort of like you don't really hear that she's saying that, and then the flow would be right, but then they subtitled it, so it was just weird all over.
So why even do? Yeah, why do all that?
Exactly. But it got really tough. I was able to take all of that in. And then I slayed the week after, so it opened eyes for people to be like, oh, okay. Especially Mo. I mean, let's just address it. She was very much like, you could have gone home. It was brunchy. And literally after they announced me being in the top, she looked at me and she said, that's the only way to do it, sis. Good on you.
Because you won that ball, which I was just thinking, wasn't the rusical also on Holland also a ball? The ball, yeah. Because you killed that ball,
So I did 2 balls and I did...
So you technically won 2 balls as well.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that we did.
But you didn't make anything on Holland season 1. Like, you guys didn't have to make anything in the workroom.
No, we prepared it, but we never had that challenge, yeah. So this was the first time ever for me to make a full garment and wear it in front of people. Yeah.
And ever?
Ever.
Oh, wow.
Like, I've practiced stuff.
Yeah.
But it's different, but I would never put that on and wear it or finish the whole, like with rhinestoning and everything, just like, oh, can I make myself a base and work from there? That's what I practiced. So this is the first time I ever wore something in front of people, and then it was Ru.
And you won the damn challenge.
And then Ru was like, I'll wear that. And I was like, how much would you give me in money?
Don't worry about this busted zipper.
No.
We talked about this a little bit at DragCon because you sell the t-shirt with the iconic dance moves, that lip sync with you and Pangina. I said to you, I'm like, could you have imagined that you'd be touring the world doing that dance?
No.
All over the place.
Ever. I mean, I was like, okay, so the Makeovers are Dutch. Obviously, we know that. And then if you look at the music video, they have this sort of little awkward dancing that we did in the 90s, early 2000s. So I was like, oh, let me try to sort of channel that a little bit. But whenever you do a show, you kind of let go and you just go for it and feel in the moment. And I did what I did. And it just blew up. I had no idea. But I get all of these fabulous videos from everybody dancing all over the world doing the same dance. It's in drag shows. It's in drag competitions. It's little kids. It's just fabulous, and it's really fun. And you know, I do full choreography, and all they want to see is me do this.
Right. They don't even want to see you do anything extra. Yeah. They want to just see you do that.
And it's in the tour,
That's
which
fierce.
It's fierce. Yeah, it's really cool.
How has the American tour been in general?
Fabulous. I love America. I love how dramatic it is. I love...
what do you mean?
The America's so dramatic. It's dramatically big. Everything's huge. It's just fab. There's AC everywhere, and it's great. The venues are huge. You know, the come up for the people to come, the meet and greets. It's really great. It's really fabulous.
Nice. And so you like fly out of here pretty quickly after this, don't you?
Yeah, we do the show tomorrow, and then I fly out the next day. Wow. To the UK, and then directly show like 6 hours later. And then I go back home for like 2 days, and I do press for this big show that we do at home, and then I fly back to the UK. And no, it's a Rotterdam drag show. So it's yeah, it's a big. It's actually officially called the biggest European produced drag show. And at the moment, we're still playing with Vanessa, Cedrigine, MV, Abby, me, and Skyla, and then we have 6 dancers. It's a 2-hour production.
Oh wow!
It's a really fabulous show. Yeah, and we do a little summer in Amsterdam, and then we go back to Rotterdam for the second production. And if you ever come, I'll invite you. You'll have a great time. You really don't know what's happening. It blows your mind. It's really fabulous.
Nice. And you do that every summer?
We do 1 weekend a month.
Oh, every month?
Yeah, every month. And then two weekends back to back. It's really fabulous. Like, I can't explain. It's a huge venue, and we sort of travel under the stage, and we show up in different costumes, and it's duets, and it's groups, and it's singles.
Like a full-on tour.
It's a full
like as if you're the Spice Girls or something.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I feel that fantasy. 100%.
I want to see it.
Yeah, you should come. You should come. It's fabulous.
So you win those 2 challenges back to back. You're slaying it. You're on a roll.
Yeah.
And what's great too is like both seasons you participated on, you won 2 challenges on each.
Yeah.
So 4 challenge wins on 2 seasons.
And then it's downhill from there.
Snatch Game happens, and that doesn't go so hot.
So Snatch Game is not my thing. Will never be my thing. Yeah. I'm not an impersonator.
I don't remember who you did on season 1 even. I just remember Envy was like carried that hardcore.
Yeah, well, I mean, Chelsea Boy was really good at that one too.
It wasn't funny though. It was just words. Like Envy.
Oh, it was like funny. Yeah, Envy was funny. Even if you didn't know who she was playing it was funny.
Envy was but I'm talking about Chelsea's.
Yeah, that was the only one you knew.
That was the only character I knew.
Yeah.
And I didn't find it that funny. Like, but I found what Envy did. Like, I don't know who that woman is still to this day, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, I did a woman from my hometown.
Yeah, because you almost look like a nun.
Right. So I was wearing like the original costumes they used to wear back in the day, and I got it from the museum in my hometown. It was like an original, was 200 years old, and they, like I said, that we have a dialect, so I could play in with the dialect and have that funny moment of like, oh, they don't have a clue what I'm saying, which obviously is why I'm not in that episode a lot.
And that makes more sense as to why I'm like, I don't remember what you did.
Right. Her name is Annie Schilder, and she said it. So she says it like, oh, Annie Schilder, because of the dialect. Ever since I did that Snatch Game, Fred, every single time I came into the room, he would say, oh, I'm Annie Schilder. Every time on Instagram, he goes and he sent me a message. He's like, could you just send me a voice note saying that one sentence? So there, I had sort of this comfort where I can play into because I'm not an impersonator. Then I had to do Snatch Game again, and I was really stressed with my choices and doing.
What was your backup
things. Choice? So I did James Charles in the actual thing. I had Tan Mom as a backup choice and Courtney Love, which...
Oh, that could have been good.
That could have been good, but I didn't prepare her as much. So then I was really like, oh, should I do James because it's controversial? So then I was like, oh, maybe I'll do Tan Mom, and I'll make it like an orange fantasy thing of tanning, because I know that there's also controversial about tanning and all those things. But the problem with Snatch Game with Ru is his conversation before you go.
Oh.
At the table.
Okay.
He throws you off. He throws you off so incredibly well that you're just freaked out and you don't know what to do.
Damn.
Because he talks about layers. He's like, I want to see, for example, he's like, oh, on the runway you look like Catherine Zeta-Jones, so maybe you should do Catherine Zeta-Jones playing Tan Mom. And I was like, I don't know what you mean. And then he's like, give me an example. And I gave a little example and he died laughing. And then it's like, okay, bye.
He's just trying to set you up.
And right, and then 45 minutes, and then you
off.
gotta be ready in 45 minutes. And I was like, well, the only one that I can look like and do in 45 minutes and sort of was James, and well, yeah. But it's such a small part of an actual drag queen's career, unless you make a conscious choice of doing that.
Right.
That
Unless you're Jinx Monsoon or Ben de la Creme, like you're not touring the world doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
So then it's like it's a very small percentage of girls that do that. So
It's just
happy
iconic for Drag Race.
Yeah.
And you didn't go home that day.
And I didn't go home.
But that was a crazy day.
Right, because I was convinced I was gonna go home because I was just the worst in that challenge. So that was the gag on that main stage where Mo gave me that bruise from squeezing me.
That's like a haunted painting.
The
Photo of you guys in the lineup.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
it's intense. Was it truly as intense being there?
Yeah. It was as intense because as you know with microphones, you can't keep recording something if the noise in the room isn't quiet. So we had to wait for Pangina to be out of the studio with that crying. And they edited under it, but it was real. It was real. It was really happening. Yeah. And then the judges just sitting there and Michelle crying and Ru just going, ladies. It was so intense. It was so intense.
Damn.
And then as we walked off, I was like, "Oh, Janey, you're still doing TV." So I just kind of waved and smiled because I was like, "I'm still happy. Happy to be here."
Filmed. Yeah.
Yeah, happy to be here, but it was a gag. Yeah.
Speaking of Ru, and you talked a little bit about Fred. What was the biggest differences, or like what were your favorite parts about Fred versus Ru? Obviously, you're closer with Fred. I was so happy to.
What's close and what's closer?
Well, just the fact that you said that you have voice notes with Fred.
Oh yeah. I mean, you should never expect that with Ru, really. I mean, he might throw you a text here or there, whatever.
But I love that you have that with Fred.
Yeah, we do. And the biggest difference for me with Ru and Fred as a main host is that Ru doesn't make it as personal. With Fred, it's very personal.
Yeah.
So it has up and downs.
Well, we got to crank him out. We got a lot going on.
Yeah, and for him, it's really a job, and and I always experience him as very friendly and very professional and very
He's a deity. He's not like a
it's untouchable.
Right.
I really appreciated Fred as a host and appreciated whatever he said, but at the same time, I knew that what Ru would tell me, I would respect a little bit more because of the experience and because of the knowledge.
The actual.
Fred was a drag queen in the 90s, and then we wore a lash, a lip smacker, and an eyeliner. So it's just a different, thing. But I really respect what he put into it and how much he grew during the show and everything else. But I mean, Ru is Ru.
Right.
That was just, I was more scared of Michelle than Ru.
Oh, really?
Of course. Michelle's the one who goes in. Ru is like, what did you think? How did you feel?
I would imagine that Ru's probably the most intimidating in the workroom.
Because Ru, he's part of the game.
Right.
So he's part of that whole, let me feed you this because I want you to do this, or let me throw you off and see how you respond. And that's what makes you a greater and a better entertainer, but that's scary.
That sounds like fun madness. For him, not for y'all.
He
thrives off that.
Yeah.
The next one before the finale is that Girl Group Challenge, which was another bottom, and that's where you go out.
Yes, which is something, yet again, I've never done. I've never recorded really music or singing or writing my own verse.
There's so many things that you guys didn't do on Holland Season 1. Like
It's also a lot of these things that, you do because of Drag Race and then continue doing it, but it's not regularly something all the girls get into before you get on Drag Race, like making music or having all these opportunities. So, it was very much like, oh, okay. And what I love when I look back at myself or when I put myself back in that moment is that I didn't sob. I didn't go, oh, I don't know how to do this and I don't want to do this. And
you took it really well.
I really was just like, let's just go. Let's try to do my best. It's a new thing. You can't really learn without not doing it. All the girls are going to rap, so I'm going to sing. There we go. And it was great television. It was great television.
Did you feel like it was your time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, because I was also, I think, in a way, tired of pushing everything. It sounds, it's like Jada Sophia collapsing in season 4, you know, it was very much like you're so exhausted and just, you know, it was very that, when it all happened, I gave it my all and I was like, it's okay, I'm good, I'm satisfied, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Obviously, the singing wasn't my best, but then Jay texted me afterwards and she was like, I know it was very shady, but I love you as a person, I love you as a queen, and those moments for me was like...
She said something really...
She was like, so you don't know how to sing, but you chose to sing, and I was like, yeah, and she's like, interesting. I made a great single and I just hit 100,000 streams, and for somebody who never made music, it's like, that's great, yeah. So, positive.
Well, and that's a great segue, because I was getting ready to ask you, what's next for Janey Jacké?
Well, definitely a lot of tours. Like, this year is very busy.
Because it's like you're just now getting started, even though you did 2 seasons.
And I've been doing drag for 10 years. It's like, all of a sudden, you have to start over.
Right.
Who are you?
Well, and that's the thing, too, is when I say, you know, what's next for you, I mean, you know, in terms of the drag race sphere, obviously... You know, I do hate that that's a thing, but obviously that's what we do here.
Yeah.
Because that's what people watch.
Yeah,
if I sat here and talk to local queens all day about what they're doing, unfortunately, no one would tune in.
All these eyes on Drag Race girls. I mean, listen, I live for the stage. I'm an entertainer. So whatever happens. I'm going to be on a stage, and I'm going to be touring a lot. There's a lot of shows coming, and obviously my show's getting better and better and better. So you really want to come. There's more music coming. I'm working on more TV or film things. You know, like there's some juice coming.
I was going to ask you if you're going to do anything like that. Just with the Meryl Streep alone, like you should be doing something because the way you were able to study her that quickly and put that together, I mean, that truly is, to me, one of the most impressive performances ever on Drag Race. It really is.
Thanks. I'm gonna hit more theater things.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, definitely happening. And my one-woman show. Like, I really want to tour with my own show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So last question for you is
another Drag Race?
I was gonna say, what if there's another version of All Stars?
I mean, maybe if they tell me that I don't have to do Snatch Game ever again, or I'll just do Meryl Streep.
I was gonna say, you know that won't happen, so you better play something.
I know. I loved doing both of my seasons. Not just being in the workroom, but everything around it, being closed off in your hotel room, people taking care of you. Do you know how many times people ask you how you're doing on a day? And you know, like, it's just wonderful. It's phenomenal. The amount of personal growth and soul growth you do in that pressure cooker of an environment. I love challenging yourself with these challenges, preparing everything, your depth of creativity. There's so many levels to it for me that I just love and really inspire me always, that I will definitely, knowing myself, will probably say yes to another season. I'd just like to take a nap for a little bit.
Yeah.
So
you need some time to be out in the world and be...
And do that. But I will definitely not say no.
How you see the experience is so different than so many people that talk about it, where they almost make it sound like they go through torture. You know?
I mean, don't get me wrong. We all have bad days.
Right.
There are a lot of bad moments for me where I'm sad or down or can't deal with the criticism from fans or the comments or the tweets or the... You know, but it's all about balance. You know, you have to find a balance.
How do you find that?
My friends are really great, and the girls that I got to meet on All Drag Race, like, there have been moments where I called you to be like, babe, as a veteran, tell me how you deal with this, and you know, an experience. But yeah, the good and bad, yeah.
For the most part, though, the fans have been pretty receptive.
Yes.
Like, other than moments, it's not like you've had a good
there's
response.
Moments. Yeah, totally.
We need to work on because you're so bold and direct. There's a character out there for you for Snatch Game that we'll get together before your next one. I'll think on that.
You let me know, and then I'll study hard to get it in.
Because you are so like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And like, there's characters out there for you. We're gonna get it.
Yeah,
and
but then also like,
below.
Right? Let me know. You comment and I'll do it. But it's also like, I grew up in the Netherlands, so there's, you know, I know television and I know a certain thing, but I don't know the global. You know, it's like
when you were like Tan Mom, I'm like, bitch, when was the last time she watched American like Tan Mom?
But that's it. I know. Once it starts dribbling down to come to the Netherlands, you're like already 5 seasons ahead. You know,
right.
We're like.
I'm like, we haven't talked about Tan Mom in 10 years.
That's just what it is.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
We'll get you together.
But everybody still knew who she was.
No, we would know who she is. Yeah.
Right.
Was there anything from UK versus the world that we didn't get to see?
So I keep saying this because we had a really sort of wonderful conversation about sex, and specifically because, you know, they love to talk about it, sex in drag and experiences of like sexual things in drag and around drag. And being from a country that is very sex positive, I I really noticed in the room that people were like, oh, I would never, and oh, I could never. Not prude, but shy, I guess. So Janey opened her big mouth, and I was like, yeah, I've done that. I've experienced. I like to experience. It's not my thing. It's not for me. It's not who I am. But I appreciate that it's a fetish for people. And that was a beautiful conversation about openness sexually and the freedom of just being who you are. And it's not, and and it's different than gender. And I really appreciated it, and I really loved having that moment. It didn't make the show, unfortunately. And I think everybody should be very open, to a certain degree, of course, about sexuality and how you feel and how you experience.
There's that old phrase of be a trisexual, try anything once.
Yes. But totally. You never know if it's your thing if you never tried it. So
exactly. Well, Janey, thank you so much for being here. This was lovely. For our anniversary special, 2 years. We couldn't do it without you, essentially, because you've been on television since we started.
It started all there, and I'm so blessed to be here. Thank you so much. The randomness of it all on the other side of the world. I love it.
Look at God. Well, and I said that too. I'm like, you know what? If they're in this country, I'm gonna go find them. Like, how much longer are they here? This is stupid. Let me go see where they're gonna be.
And here we are.
And I found the bitch. Well, we're gonna head on out of here for now, and glad you got to see us. Bye.
Bye.